Sheikh Jarrah, the district in East Jerusalem, there are many Palestinian families who are facing eviction, right? The Israeli settlers have ordered them, these Israeli courts, which have no jurisdiction in Jerusalem under international law, they're forcing Palestinians out of their homes. And there's one family that's facing eviction in March, in just a few weeks, the Salem family. And Israeli settlers have come to provoke them by doing this. They set up a tent. An Israeli politician set up a tent in their yard, in front of their house, to harass them, antagonize them. It's supposedly a parliamentary office, right? And then you had these Israeli settlers that were attacking Palestinians with pepper spray. You can see them spraying it there, throwing chairs at them. I mean, it's really wild, honestly. And I want to show you something. Look how they treat the press. So you have reporters here trying to cover what's happening, and Israeli settlers harassing the media. So you see the cameraman, and you've got these Israeli settlers coming with Israeli flags. This guy's showing a middle finger and holding up the Israeli flag in front of the camera so they can't see anything. And the most interesting part is the so-called Israeli border police that are standing around. You see them? Do you notice how they just look at it like they don't care? And that's the whole point, because all of this settler violence against Palestinians is endorsed. The Israeli occupation forces come to accompany the Jewish settlers, the Israeli Jewish settlers, and just look on, watching them attack Palestinians, attack the media, and they don't do anything, right? So they're allowed to carry guns and arrest Palestinians, take over their homes, but for the Jewish settlers, even though they're the ones committing the violence, they endorse it, they enable it by just standing around as they harass media, as they throw chairs, use pepper spray. It's unbelievable, right? And many of the Jewish settlers are themselves carrying, rifles, machine guns. So, very, very interesting, right? The next time you hear them say that, well, Israel is a democracy, yeah, look how they treat the press, right? They shoot journalists. They kill and shoot journalists in Gaza. Whenever there's a war, they just completely indiscriminately kill journalists and medical workers. And when you try exposing the settler violence, this is how they treat you. But that's not the worst of it. I just want to give you an idea how close this is to the family's home, to the Salem family's home. Because, again, I'm going to say this again, the Salem family are facing eviction by this illegal Israeli court. They're going to kick them out of their home, and they're trying to kick dozens of families out of their homes, these Palestinian families, so that Jewish settlers can move in. And look where this yard is. Look how provocative this is. They're putting a tent up in this family's yard that's about to be evicted, and dancing and making fun of them and harassing them every single day.
Injustice, it's crazy. This is the Salem family. They are due to be evicted from their home. They were born in 15 days. This here is extremist Israeli settlers. Here in the middle of Sheikh Jarrah, the Palestinian neighborhood. Again, we are here in Sheikh Jarrah. This is extremely right-wing Israeli minister Ben Gvir sitting behind them.
Right, so that guy is Ben Gvir. He's the Israeli politician who set up this office here, this tent office on their yard, right, on the Palestinian family's property, and right in front of their home to provoke them. And of course, with him, all of these Israeli settlers there. I mean,
very happy. Right here next to them, again, the Salem family who are going to be forcibly evicted from their home. This is the situation in Sheikh Jarrah. The injustice is...
It's disgusting, right? It's disgusting, isn't it? And, you know, what am I supposed to say? I wish this were an isolated incident. It's not. This is what Israel is. All of these people in Israel, these Israelis, you know, they've come from outside of Palestine. Either they themselves, their parents, or their grandparents came to Palestine, and that's how Israel has been built. It's always at the expense of Palestinians, right, taking their land. It's at the expense of Syrians taking the Golan Heights. It's at the expense of the Lebanese, right, occupying South Lebanon and now Shab'a farms. So Israel can only exist at the expense of others, and it's specifically the Palestinians who have it worse than anyone else. So these families that are being kicked out of their homes by these illegal Israeli courts are being made refugees a second time, because the families who live in Sheikh Jarrah were already displaced once by Israel in 1948 during the Nakba, you know, the ethnic cleansing, the mass displacement of at least 800,000 Palestinians, right, by the Israelis who destroyed villages, razed them to the ground. And again, you know, the Israelis try to pretend like this didn't happen. The Israeli ambassador to the UK, who you know, students were protesting when she was speaking at Cambridge Union or the London School of Economics. She used to be the settlements minister, right, the minister of settlements. And she said that the Nakba is an Arab lie. Right, because, you know, millions of Palestinians just randomly decided to leave their homes and give them to European Jews. You're really funny. And this is so disgusting. This is what America sponsors. This is what America is paying for. This is what American tax dollars buy. And of course, it's not just the Americans. It's the British. The UK is in large part responsible for the creation of Israel. But I really think that it's important for people to, you know, when you buy something, when you pay for something, you should know what you're buying. And unfortunately, this is what Americans are buying with their tax dollars. This is what the United Kingdom helped to create. And it's really just one facet of it. Again, you have 70 plus years of this going on, where Israelis are taking Palestinians' homes, either bulldozing them or kicking them out and taking the house. This is every single day you see a Palestinian being beaten, a Palestinian being killed. I cannot keep count of how many times. It's really every single day I see this Palestinian in the West Bank was killed by the Israelis. This Palestinian over here being brutally arrested. I mean, look, I just saw this earlier today. A man with crutches being beaten up, right? A Palestinian man being beaten up by the Israeli forces. Look at this. Disgusting. I mean, no respect. Really just disgusting. You know, it's really disgusting. And you can hear the broken Arabic of the Israelis. Yalla kum, right? They're saying yalla get up. I mean, he's the dude has crutches. What do you mean get up? You just knocked him on the ground. Jesus Christ, they're just so, you know, disgusting. And I'm not going to stop saying this, that it's under international law. Again, I'm not going to stop repeating this because it's so important to understand. Jerusalem was meant to be a separate body, right? And this is the UN who wanted Jerusalem to be separate. And it's important because the Israelis claim legitimacy from the UN. They say Israel was recognized and admitted as a member state to the UN, and that's why it's a legitimate state. Yeah, but the UN also says that Jerusalem does not belong to you. It does not recognize the Jerusalem law when you annexed Jerusalem illegally in 1980. It's been telling you to withdraw from Jerusalem, from the Golan Heights. You haven't done that. So, you know, anything the Israelis don't like from the United Nations, they're just going to ignore. And the one thing that gives them legitimacy, that one they'll accept, right? And my point here is that these Israeli courts who are kicking Palestinians out of their homes in Sheikh Jarrah have no jurisdiction. You know, you can say, the Zionists, the Israelis will come and say, look, man, this is very simple. The court said this and this. Fuck your court, man. You know, if I break into your house and set up a court and order you out of the house, does that mean I have the fucking legitimacy and jurisdiction to do that? This is insanity. You know, this is their settler colonial bullshit. And, you know, you got people who are setting up these... you know, again, you got people who've come to Palestine who are not from there, setting up these illegal courts, violating the UN's Security Council resolutions, and imposing evictions. You can't evict someone, you know, who doesn't live in your jurisdiction. And I would add one more thing, even if they were in Israeli jurisdiction, you know, Israel is a colonial, illegal entity in all of Palestine, not just the West Bank, not just in Gaza. The entire thing is a colonial project. It was created by the British. It's supported by the Americans. It's just settler colonizers coming from all over the world and kicking Palestinians out. And this is so disgusting how they do this. You know, you're not going to see this, of course, on mainstream media, because this is the real side of Israel. This is what Israel is. This disgusting ethnic cleansing, making fun of a family that's about to be evicted. I mean, that's just sick, honestly. Coming and setting up a tent in their yard to make fun of them and provoke them because they're about to lose their home. I mean, how demented do you have to be to do that? Like, how morally bankrupt are you, honestly? It's so vile. It's so vile. And you can't tell Zionists anything. You know, they think that they're always right. And, they come up with all sorts of excuses. The Palestinians are terrorists. They don't actually own these homes. You know, they were given to them illegally by Jordan, and so on and so on. When it's the Israelis who've been caught falsifying documents to get these homes. And again, let me explain something to you very clearly. The Jews who are claiming these homes, it's not actually individuals. It's a settler organization, right, that represents Israeli Jews. And the homes are not, it's not even like this house used to belong to this person, you know, 150 years ago and give it back to them. It's just going to random people. One of the people who's moved in, one of these Israeli settlers, is a fucking American, you know? This guy called Jacob, there's that video that went viral where I think it was Mona Al-Kurd, she's saying, like, why are you stealing my house? And he's like, well, if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it. It's true. It's true. It's just, you know, give it to any Jew, just get the Palestinians out. Give it to any Israeli settler. It doesn't matter if they're Australian, they're American, who the hell cares? Just kick the Arabs out, kick the Palestinians out, take the homes. So, you know, they're trying to this is, again, one of the ways that they try to legitimize Israel. They, you know, there's a law from 1950, I think in 1952, where they say that any Jew anywhere in the world can come to Israel and claim citizenship, right? And you got to think about what that means. That means if you're an Australian Jew or you're, you know, from anywhere, it doesn't matter. You could be British, who cares? Even Egyptian, Iraqi, whatever. You come to Palestine and you get citizenship and you're automatically treated better than the Palestinians, right? And you have more rights than them and you have more resources than them and more protection than them. And you're treated like a first-class citizen. Meanwhile, they're treated not even like any citizen. They just treat them like they're subhuman, the Palestinians. And that is incredible because the Palestinian who's been there for 10 generations or God knows how many generations is kicked out of his home. There are many Palestinians who've had to rebuild their homes multiple times. You know, like they're families who've had their homes bulldozed by Israel, or they have to do it themselves because the Israelis tell you, do you have a permit for this building? And you say, no, I don't have a permit. You know, what permit? You guys just came here and installed this colonial entity. How would I have a permit from you? Okay, do you own this house? You go give them the documents, they don't recognize it. And then they say you have to demolish your house. You don't have the permission to live here. This is not your house. And then Palestinians have to destroy their house. They rebuild it again, destroy it again. It's incredible. You know, if you don't destroy it yourself, the Israelis will destroy it for you and you have to pay for them to destroy your house. I mean, this shit is unreal. And this is what's happening every day in Sheikh Jarrah. You have all these families that are pending eviction and they're about to be kicked out. And, you know, you're not going to see any of this in mainstream media because they don't want to show you the ugly side, the real side of Israel, that it's a settler colony. It's built at the expense of Palestinians.